Welcome back to LewyT Amusement Academy Part 7. Today we're going to learn the basics of Unity's graphical user interface, creating a window and a button. Okay, so far we've made it so that if we go to the big mushroom, something happens, and what happens is these little mushrooms appear. So that's a little bit weird. Why would they just appear like that? You know, usually in a game, something happens when you reach a goal and you get like a message on the screen. So let's do something like that. Let's make a little box appear. First we need the box to exist. Right now I'm gonna make the mushrooms on all the time because I like them. They don't need to be tied to the detection anymore. But I'm gonna right click in the hierarchy, go to UI. This is UI means user interface. And we're going to go to something called a panel. Click on panel, and because we're in the game view right now, we see the panel it looks like everything turned grayish, but it's because it's a panel that fills the screen, and it's white, but it's also see-through, so you can see everything, but it's tinted this white color. Now let's look over here in the hierarchy. What had happened is actually added two objects. Added a canvas, which is the parent of the panel. The panel is the thing we added. Now, I want to just name the panel Win Panel. Now, I want to introduce you to some of the controls for panels. So the thing about canvas, the canvas object and all the user interface pieces that can be on a canvas, they appear on the screen in front of everything else. The panel is defined by its parent object, you know, where it lives, but the canvas is like the whole screen. In the hierarchy of the panel, there's left, top, and right, bottom. So I want to just show you, when you drag on left, it moves away from the left side of the screen. Drag on top, it moves away from the top of the screen, and so on. As you can imagine, the others do something similar. However, you don't have to control its position and size by only doing that. There's this little gizmo or widget, I'm not sure what you'd call it. It's an easy way to control where you want to place an element in a user interface. So, for instance, this panel is like a window, and it can be the whole screen, or it can be just a thing in the middle. And I want to make it as a thing in the middle, so I'm going to click on this little box. I'm going to hold down the Alt and Shift key because that makes it do more than just one thing. And I'm going to click on this middle option. Now, it didn't really change much on the screen, but it did change in the inspector. Now I click on the blank space here, so get rid of that pop out. And now instead of top, left, right, bottom, or whatever, it's zero. It's position X, Y, and Z, and then width and height. So now we can say, the 0, 0 right now, because we've picked a center option. The 0 means we're in the center. So if we go to the right, it's moving it in a positive X, and if we go left, it's a negative X. But if we go to 0, it's right in the middle because we're on the center option. Now the width is just like an arbitrary units. I'm not sure if it corresponds to pixels on the screen. And I'm going to make it 500. And that seems like a good size for a short message. And then the height can be less than 500, so we'll do maybe 400. So there's just a nice little box. I do want my panel to not be transparent, be able to see through it. I don't really want it to do that. So if you click on the color, so in the color box, click on that, and you've got the color wheel, and underneath it you've got R, G, and B, and then A. A means alpha. The alpha means transparency. So actually, to the left is completely transparent, so you can't even see it at all. And the more you go to the right, it becomes more opaque or solid it becomes. So I want it to be completely solid or almost completely solid. Maybe we get a little bit of a hint of something going through. And I want it to be a different color. I like green, and the slime is green. I think a green panel is a good color for a panel. Okay, so we have a panel. I'm going to click on the panel in the hierarchy. It was already on it. And uncheck, so I'm inactivating it. And then I'm going to go to the detection sphere. And we open up the onObject enter. And right now it's set to the mushroom group. But I'm going to drag the Win panel into that spot instead of the mushroom group, so it just replaces it. Now, when we play, instead of the mushrooms appearing, because they're already there, the Win panel appears. Now, it's just a green box. Okay, so it's just a plain panel. There's, it doesn't tell us anything. So let's put a message on the panel. So we're going to stop the game, go back to the Win panel. I'm going to activate it so I can see it. And then I'm going to right click on it in the hierarchy and add another UI element. This time, instead of a panel, it's going to be a text mesh pro. Okay, the first time you try to make a text mesh pro object, it brings up this TMP importer window. And this just asks you if you want to import the TMP essentials. I interpret essentials as being necessary, so we'll go ahead and do that. And then it loads for a little bit. Doesn't take long. And then it also asks if you want examples and extras, and I don't usually do that. I just say, and ignore that and close this window. So that adds a new object as a child of the Win panel. It says new text. In the inspector, there's this big box that says new text. That is what's controlling what displays on the screen. We can change it to something else. I'm going to just change it to you win. So we've got we've got a you win message. Now here's the thing, is to my eye, this you win message is slightly off centered. It doesn't quite look right. It's kind of centered, but not really. Now, if we type a longer message, we're going to say, congratulations. Oh, look at that. Now you can kind of see what's going on. It apparently has a left edge of this object and a top, and then it has a limit to how big even the words can fit on the screen, and it word wraps. So in this text mesh pro, we can change settings. First of all, by default it's a 200 width and 50 height. Now if we go back to the Win panel, that's a 500/400. So I think it's okay for the text mesh pro to be the same size as the panel that it's in, so I'm going to do 500 and 400. And now it puts it at the top left. It lets it fill out as much as you want. I can make it a longer message, and it just basically goes where you would expect, fills in. I just pasted the same message over and over. So I'm going to change it back to just you win. And now, to make it truly centered, now that our width and height is the same as its parent, I will go down here to these text settings. There's the alignment, and the first little button is for left alignment, and the second one is center. So it's center like that, and then there's right, and then there's other options, but I like center, at least for this kind of message. And then for the next row of buttons, there's top, middle, and bottom, and some other options. But the middle is the vertical center, and then the top one is the horizontal center. So there you go. It's just a nice little box that says you win. I'm going to put an exclamation mark on that. Now, that's great and everything, so that's going to appear when we play the game. But I have to turn it off so it can come back. Okay, so here we are, and we're going to go over to the mushroom. and boom, you win. You must be so proud of yourself. You won the game. However, nothing else changes. You can still control the character as, because we didn't make it not control the character, but it just has you win in the way, and we can't do anything else. In fact, you can't even make this panel go away, at least as the player. The player can't make the panel go away. So let's make an option that will allow the player to close this little window. Okay, because we stopped, it disappeared again. I'm going to go ahead and activate it. And I'm going to right click on Win Panel. I'm going to make a button. So we're going to make a button to close the panel. So we're going to go to the UI section, and instead of panel or text, we're going to go button. It just makes a button in the middle of the panel, and we're still, the button is to be a child of the Win panel. Open up the button in the hierarchy, the little triangle. It has a text on the button. Now, we don't want it to just say button, we want it to be an X button. So I'm going to make an X button, and now it just has X on the button. And I think I also want it to be bold. I also want it to be square. So if we look at the size of the button, so we go back to the button on the hierarchy. The width is 160, the height is 30. If we just do 30 and 30, it'll be a square. Now it's in the middle, we don't want the button in the middle, I'm going to put it in the top right. So I'm going to click on this Gizmo, Alt Shift, and then there's the top right section here. You can click on that. It puts it in the top right. And if for some reason you don't like it, it just feels like it's too close to the very edge of the top right, you can change these X and Y positions however you want, but I think it's fine. Now, to make it actually close the window, so in the button inspector, there's the button component, and down here it says on click. So we have to click the plus to make it actually do something on click. Runtime only is the right setting there, but then we need an object for this other slot. The object we want is the actual panel. So Win panel, we're going to click and drag it and drop it into this slot on the button. Now, the next thing is, it says no function, so we need to pick a function, and what we want is the game object. So each of these things in this list roughly correspond to the components in the inspector. So the very top is the game object itself, and so you open that up and there's the things you can do to the game object, and set active is what we want. Set active, and then the checkbox is either on or off. Off means it will set it to be inactive, which means invisible. Okay, so here's one issue that we have to work through is the first time you try to use a button, it doesn't necessarily work. So I don't know if you've seen what happened. So if my mouse disappeared, my mouse pointer. So if I hit escape, the mouse pointer comes back. I can stop the game if I want, but I don't want to. I want to click this button. Click it. All that happens is the mouse pointer disappears. So I'm going to show you how to fix that. We stop the game, and the issue is inside the player controller. So in the player capsule, there is this object that has all of our controller stuff on it, and at the very bottom, or second to the very bottom, is a checkbox that says cursor locked. And what that means is, because it's a player controller and you're using the mouse to move the camera around, to rotate the camera, the idea is that you wouldn't necessarily want a mouse pointer also moving around on the screen as you're playing the game. So most games separate the action, whenever you are in a menu, you have a mouse pointer, and then whenever you're playing in the world, the 3D world, your mouse pointer just disappears, and that's what this lock does. So for now, I'm just going to turn off this checkbox, and it will stop that that behavior where the mouse pointer disappears. So let's just go ahead and test it without that checkbox checked. Okay, here we go. Let's see if we can click the button. Boom. Okay, so there it is. The button works. Now we can make this thing come back by getting close to the mushroom. There it is. Click the button and it goes away. So the reason that it works is, first of all, we uncheck that checkbox, but also the button is configured such that it sets the Win Panel's set active function to false. So that's just another way of saying it makes the window that it's sitting on disappear. We win the level, yay, and then we can close it. But then, we're still in the game. We're still just playing the same level. What if we want like a button at the bottom that says done or finish? Well, we'll have to learn that next time on LewyT Amusement Academy Part 8. Thank you for watching LewyT Amusement Academy Part 7. Come back down to LewyT Game Lab next time and we will learn to create digital life.